Hi guys. I used to be an atheist, but at the age of 21, I became a follower of Jesus. And the question is why? Well, that's because I followed the evidence. About 2 years earlier, someone at my work debunked the theory of evolution for me. And so, although I suspected the evidence was pretty thin for it, I chose to keep believing in evolution because I didn't want anything to restrict my hedonistic lifestyle. And that's true for most atheists. I mean, I've heard such ridiculous claims in recent times, like science has proved evolution, and that is just complete not. In fact, the opposite is true. Science has disproven evolution. I mean, you cannot find any evidence in the fossil record of any animal turning into another animal. And even Anthony Flume, who was Richard Dawkins' mentor, said that there's a genetic wall, and he became a theist in the end. I don't think he ever found Christ, but he certainly didn't believe in evolution anymore. But the evidence for a man called Jesus, or he would have been known as Yeshua, coming into the world and dying on a cross is overwhelming. Bart Ehrman, who claims he is not a Christian, said there's 11 external biblical sources confirming the life and ministry and death of Jesus. The fact is, historians who look into the evidence come to the conclusion that is the most attested fact in history is Jesus' life and death. Had he survived the cross, it would have been books written about him after the crucifixion because he was number one celebrity of his day. I mean, people were still walking around, talking, hearing, seeing, and even people who rose from the dead were walking around. I mean, no wonder he was number one celebrity. No wonder Jewish, Roman, and Greek historians wrote about him. But we come to the evidence for the resurrection, and that is the empty tomb. Had Jesus died, the new movement of his followers would have died with him. They would have just, the Roman and Jewish leaders, they would have just dragged his body out of the tomb, stuck him on a slab, and said, "Right, guys, here he's dead. You can all go home now. Have a nice day." What have the Romans ever done for us? You might ask. but they couldn't find his body. Sadly for them, they couldn't find his body, so they spread a story that Jesus' followers stole the body and they just claimed he was resurrected. Bearing in mind that his followers did a run on the night Jesus was arrested, just a few nights earlier. They were in fear of their own lives and were now in hiding because they thought the Messiah who was going to come was going to overthrow the Romans. And, they hadn't quite figured out that God's plan A was Jesus' death first, and the second coming would be when he would reign. So that didn't quite fit their theory. Even though Jesus had told them he was going to die a number of times, they thought, that can't happen. It's not. They couldn't see the suffering Messiah, and Jesus had to point out to two of his disciples on the Emmaus Road after he rose from the dead that he started with Moses and the prophets, what they'd wrote, and said, the Messiah had to come and die first. So they couldn't find the body, claimed that the disciples stole the body. Also consider the fact that there was a Roman guard around the tomb to make sure the body wouldn't get stolen. Just that very thing they claimed later on happened. They put a Roman guard there to prevent it happening, put a Roman seal on the grave. So that debunks that one, So historians use embarrassing facts as strong evidence that an event took place, and in the Gospel, which is the four books in the first four books of the New Testament, they record a woman as the first person to discover the risen Jesus, and so suggest that's a strong case for the event to have taken place. Women in this culture were not even trusted in a court of law. So had the story been embellished, no doubt Peter or John would have burst in and discovered Jesus. "Oh, you're alive!" And it would have been, or one of the other disciples would have met him first. But no, it was a woman, and this didn't quite go down well in a male-dominated culture. But after the resurrection of Jesus, 500 men, and no doubt women too, like Mary, were now willing to die, suffer and die for the Messiah. I mean, they were getting whipped and beat on and eventually died. You know, I mean, originally the Jewish followers going to, lead them to victory, not have them tortured and butchered. But here they were, because they'd now seen him alive, they were emboldened and quite willing to suffer and die. But he also appeared to his half-brother James. Now, James, during Jesus' ministry, thought he'd lost his head, like his other brothers and sisters. He was a half-brother of Jesus. Jesus was born of a virgin, but his brothers weren't. They were born to Joseph and Mary. And so, I mean, imagine your brother coming home and saying, "Hey, I'm the Messiah." You'd have said, "You're not the Messiah, you're just a naughty boy." And so they thought Jesus had lost the plot, and thought he'd lost his mind. It wasn't quite right in the head. Come on, Jesus, pull yourself together and get back in this carpentry shop and continue giving me help me go through my apprenticeship. But no, Jesus was the real deal. Once he rose from the dead, now James did believe in him, and he became one of the leaders in the early church, and there is historic evidence that he died. He was executed. Now, if he hadn't seen his brother raised from the dead, he wouldn't have become a follower, and he certainly wouldn't have died had he not known that he was the real deal. So, would you be willing to die for a lie? I certainly wouldn't. But, there was also enemies of the Christian movement in the early days who thought they were doing God's work, trying to kill them all, and they were arresting them and, casting a vote against them. And the man leading this was the Apostle Paul, who Jesus appeared to him. And so this enemy also became a follower. Now, if you've got a hallucination happening, you've got the same hallucination happening to over 500 people, you've got to ask yourself a question. Even the medical professionals, they suggest that 500 people get the same hallucination just doesn't happen. I mean, there was a number of the disciples were all together when Jesus appeared to them, so you got 12 people supposedly having the same hallucination, and they touched him and talked with him, and he even ate food in their presence. So it doesn't sound like, and then they also cooked breakfast for them one morning by the sea. It doesn't sound like, one person having an hallucination, yeah, but a number of guys together, it just doesn't happen. But if you want more evidence and can't be bothered reading the book, why not watch a film? The Case for Christ featuring Lee Strobel. He wanted to prove Jesus didn't come, die, or rise again because his wife had become a believer, and he wanted her to reconvert to being an atheist because it made him feel more comfortable. And so he thought, I'll research this. And he did. He spent 3 years going over it, searching out the evidence, hunting it down, and he eventually came to the only reasonable explanation it actually happened. Thank you.